Hello everyone, Curtis White here from the CannondaleCyclocrossWorld.com team. Today we're taking a look at the Superprestige course in Boom in Belgium. Now Boom is normally the home of the famous music festival Tomorrowland, some of you may know, but you can see the massive natural amphitheater surrounding the infield where the start and finish is. Now there wasn't any serious condensation in the days leading up to this race. We woke up to freezing temperatures and frost on the ground, and that slowly started to melt, and a fast, hard-packed course transformed into a slick and rutted course that made for an already heavy course to be really heavy. So we just started the lap, and we had a short start straight, maybe 100 meters, 125 meters. We go into this bend left, into a quick bottleneck, and there are a few slick turns here that really started to get muddy early on. Now there's no real challenge in this infield, and we'll see that the infield was used as an opportunity to really regroup and recover slightly, because once the climbing starts, there's really little opportunity to catch a breath. So after this straightaway, we're bending right, and we're coming by pit 1. And this side is where I preferred to pit, as I could start the climb with a clean and light bike, but it was also better to set up for the exit corner here, as we see bending to the left. A couple deep ruts started to form through this corner later on. We straighten back out, and we bend back to the left steadily for a bit here. Now, this section we'll see a lot of shuffling in the groups and jockeying for position as we are approaching a major pinch point and coming into the most challenging part of the course. Once we start climbing, it's really not easy to pass or move up in the group. Here we have Quentin Hermans, a fast wheel coming by, and at the end of this section we have a sharp bottleneck right, and we are right at the base of a cobbled climb. With the entrance and the cobblestones being so slick, the approach into this climb was a bit slower, so position within the group was much more of a factor than in faster editions. Now, coming up this climb, I could literally hear the cobblestones bouncing off of Quentin Hermans' rims. So that just goes to show you how low a tire pressure these top guys are running. As we come to the end of the cobbles, we have to ramp your speed back up, and you really have to muscle your bike up this last steep pitch. There's really no easy way up it, and by the end, your legs are just totally zapped. Now we're at the top of the amphitheater, and I'm swinging by my mechanic, Mike Berry, to lower the tire pressure a little bit.
Let me go down one more.
Now, my first lap out, I was pre-riding on the challenged Grifos at 21-22 PSI, but the conditions were quickly changing, and I switched to a Baby Limas tire with my eventual racing pressure at 18-19 PSI. There aren't a lot of rough transitions like rocks or roots or curbs or really anything to hit in this course, so there's not a lot of opportunities to risk a puncture.
Appreciate it.
As I'm getting going again, coming off the top of this plateau, you'll see there's a few sketchy descents with slight off cambers here. And what made these sections a little precarious was the slick top layer of mud over this hard packed undersurface. And speed regulation wasn't always possible today, so you had to be comfortable with letting the bike slide a little. So we have a sharp 180 turn here, back up the hill. We're still on a slight off camber on this uphill section, so it's more of an effort just to maintain traction up this climb and really muscle the bike again. As it levels out a little, there's a slight opportunity for recover, but again, hard right here, back down and off camber, hard 180 hook left, back up the climb. And again, slick surface, trying to maintain traction and muscle the bike back up. Now, one thing to add through this pre-ride is that while it looks dry out on course right now, the conditions are changing from lap to lap, even in the pre-ride, and then even more so later on in the race. But we're finding that with the frost melting earlier in the day, we have this greasy top layer, and the tires are able to tear through that top layer of grass very quickly, so the lines are continuing to change, and we'll see that from pre-ride to the race, the course deteriorates at a very fast rate. Now, after coming off the top of the amphitheater, we had a screaming fast descent down, hook right, couple slick corners, and we're coming back into the bottom of this bowl. And this is really where the course was heaviest with the mud, and it got really rutted out. And it was easy for the ruts to shoot you in an unwanted direction, so you had to choose wisely and focus on coming into this part of the course composed. You want to maximize your exit speed because you're coming back up this hill on very slick ground. And then, again, it's hard to get traction through this part of the course. As we're muscling the bike up, directly to our right are the famous Boom Trolls laying down looking up at the sky, but we really weren't focused on them during the race. But this is really the final climb of the lap, and we're really using everything we have to get up and over it. And as we approach this final pitch, we have this runner ride decision. Now I hugged the inside up the left on this climb to try and ride, and I couldn't quite get all the traction and momentum that I needed. So I'm going back down to really inspect this part of the course. Now here we'll see a Jumbo-Visma rider hold wide to the outside, maintain traction and momentum, has to get off a little bit, but that's a line I'm going to try next. Now, a tip on pre-rides for those of you who may be new to cyclocross: it's important to really take the time to study the course and understand what the ground is like, if there are any small rocks or divots in the course or alternate lines. Really taking this time to study this is really important. Now, back to business here. We're coming off the top of this amphitheater, straight down a slick hill with barely any traction, and everyone was slamming on the brakes and letting the wheels slide here, really tearing up the grass. And there were a couple laps where I locked up both my front and rear tires because there was just simply no traction, but no crashes throughout the day for me, fortunately. We have one more muddy and rutted section here, approaching pit 2. We are really in the final 2 minutes of the lap, and it was really wide open and fast after this. After the pits, we're coming into a sweeping 180 turn left. We're getting back up to speed, regrouping. Again, a time to recompose yourself, get back to the group, and refocus on the next obstacle. Slight hop here over this cobbled curb, bending to the right, slight rut here that started to form, and we have this dead straightaway into a set of barriers. In last week's course pre-ride video in Kortrijk, I mentioned that there are certain trends with barrier heights in particular races. This is a Superprestige series race, so the barriers are typically a little taller and further apart. My guess would be 40 centimeters with rounded tops and 5 to 6 meters apart. And for me personally, I'm a fast runner and feel just as quick as anyone hopping, so I was dismounting today, but normally I would hop when the approach is a little bit slower. So we had a quick right and left after the barriers, and we are approaching the final obstacle, the sand pit, which comes in 2 sections. The entrance is under the bridge, which is really fast and easy to stay in the rut, but the tricky part is staying in the rut through this bend to the right and maintaining momentum. About half the guys were getting off through this section, but again, cross is all about maintaining momentum. Quick remount here. We have a little reprieve through this section. We're about 300 meters from the finish line now, so this is the last chance to really take a deep breath before the end of the lap. Slick 180 right here. This is another turn where the lines were shifting all day because we're getting less and less traction. Always look for the green. Green means traction, green means go. Now we have a left hook here into the sand. The rut through the end was on the left, close to the fencing. Coming out of the sand, hop onto this curb, coming onto the pavement. Now we're about 150 meters from the finish line. The sprint starts here. We saw a lot of riders coming across the finish line solo today, so not a lot of people sprinting. But if you are coming into a sprint with a group, it's important to lead this short finish straight. So we're coming in up this mound, right, hard turn left. We're about 100 meters from the finish line. And that's the course. It was a heavy track that was made heavier with the conditions, and it was all about running as low a pressure as you are comfortable with and always looking for the traction to maintain momentum. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Keep a lookout for more pre-ride videos through the course of this season. Take care, stay healthy, keep riding, and we'll catch you next weekend.